There you go. Good evening, everybody. I'll bring this regular council meeting to order on Monday, July the 8th, 2024 at 7 p.m. and to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Stahelis. And the next order of business, please.
The next order of business is introduction of late items.
Any late items? We have one, do we not? Yes.
Thank you. There was supposed to be an attachment at the very end of the package for item 13B. There was supposed to be the draft bylaw and the site plan. Those were included in the May 6th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda package, but were inadvertently omitted from this agenda package. So there's copies on council's desk, and there were some copies in there as well. It's been placed on the website.
Thank you. And the next order of business.
Late item, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'd like to introduce a late item concerning the location of council meetings for discussion.
Seconder for that? No seconder, motion fails. Next order of business, please.
Well, can I just add that I object to the fact that this meeting is being held with an attendance limit of 18 people in person, and I believe that's a contravention of the community charter. I attend this meeting under protest.
I believe under legislation, we do have this, as you very well know, since the 80s, has been the official chambers for council meetings. It was only changed due to the pandemic. That was from legislation from the province. That's why we had to change to a larger location because of the social distancing. That's all gone by now. But we are providing a limited amount of seating, and of course, as per legislation, we do have the Zoom for people to watch it on Zoom as well. So I believe that we're covering our bases in regarding to the meetings. Thank you. And the next order of business, please.
The next order of business is approval of the agenda.
As amended? Yes, we have a moved by Councillor Bible, second by Councillor Jackson. Call the question. All in favour? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. The next order of business.
Adoption of council minutes.
The regular council minutes of June the 17th are here for adoption. Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Bible. And any errors or omissions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favour? Motion passes. And the next business, please.
Special council meeting minutes of June 25th, 2024 be adopted.
Do we have a mover? Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Bible. Any errors or omissions? Being none, I call the question. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Next order of business.
Business arising from the minutes.
Is there any business arising from the minutes from council? Being none, we'll move on.
Moving on to the consent agenda.
We have 4 here on the consent agenda. This is for receipt. Motion moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Bible. I would like to remove the business correspondent, the correspondence from the visitor from Tourism Harrison onto the business from correspondence. Do you need a resolution for that?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. So we'll have a motion to move item 6.4B to item 8C.
Yes.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Bible, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Questions on that? Call the question. All in favour? Thank you. Next order of business.
Sorry. Could I get a vote on the main motion for consent?
Consent. Yes, the main motion. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. There's no delegations and petitions, so moving on to item 8, which is correspondence.
So we have 2 letters of correspondence here. This is just for receipt first, I believe. Moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Bible. It's just receipt.
Uh,
We'll discuss it when we come to the business, of course, if you wish.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Call the question, all in favour? Nobody opposed, thank you. Now, business arising from the correspondence, who wishes to, Councillor Allen?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I happen to agree with a lot of what Mr. Garneau says about this. There was a time when the Advisory Planning Commission was a very important commission in the village, was actively involved in planning for the future, and was responsible for a number of initiatives that have come to pass. And I really think that an advisory planning commission can serve a very useful purpose for the community, because if you can gather together the people who have the knowledge, the background, and the vision to talk about Harrison in terms of 10, 20, 30, and 40 years out, and are prepared to dedicate the time necessary to have those discussions, and it does take time to talk things through, then I believe that we would return in Harrison to some real planning where we make plans, we discuss them fully, they're well known in the community and are well supported. I think that over the years, we've lost a lot of the momentum of the Advisory Planning Commission. And if we would adopt Mr. Garneau's recommendations, particularly the one that requires all developments to be referred to the APC for comment, I think that it would serve the village very well to do so. I'm also concerned about the current OCP bylaw, which contradicts the original intent of the OPC as set up by Victoria, which was to provide a forum where more people could get involved in discussing the future of the village. And in that scenario, the APC was open to anybody who wanted to come with a suggestion or talk about an issue before the APC. But under the current bylaw, the APC is actually prohibited from getting presentations from the public or receiving correspondence from the public. And I think that that is a fatal flaw in our APC structure. We need to be open to people, and we need to encourage discussion rather than discourage it. So in general terms, I concur with Mr. Garneau that we need to revive our Advisory Planning Commission. I know that there are many people in the village who would make good members of the APC because they've discussed with me their concerns about the village and what they see as being necessary. And from those conversations, I've deduced that we have a lot of talent in Harrison that we're not using. So I'm very much in favor of Mr. Garneau's recommendations. I would only add the codicil that if we're going to revive the APC, we should involve the current members in that, and we should strive to expand it. But we should also bear in mind that what we really need to do is to rewrite the bylaw to make it more inclusive. So I'm in support of Mr. Garneau's efforts to make the APC more meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio. I will, through you to our corporate officer, how many members are currently on the APC?
Carry on.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Vital, there are 4 currently.
4. Thank you. Then I will put a motion forward, Deputy Mayor Facio, that the staff work with the current APC and put out a posting for new members to the APC, and also for staff to work with the APC to develop terms of reference to provide proper operating and reporting rules and procedures.
I can just, for a second, if I may, I just want to ask the corporate officer, I believe you do have some applicants already. They're waiting for us for approval?
Yes, thank you. We have 4 applicants.
So we do have that. And yes, I agree with you, terms of reference have to be looked at as well. So
Deputy
you want to
Mayor,
carry on with that motion?
would you like me to withdraw, given that there are 4 pending members?
Yes.
I think it would be appropriate that I remove that part of my motion. And just the motion to staff work with the APC to develop terms of reference, to provide proper operating and reporting rules and procedures.
Is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Jackson. Any further discussion? Councillor Allen?
Yeah, I'd just like to suggest that we look to the UBCM Best Practices Guide, which has a good section on how an effective APC operates, and maybe use that as our starting point for this review. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like, for the sake of the public, that when we have public hearings, the postings for those hearings have to go out at least 2 weeks, I think, prior to the trial posting. Is it 1 week now or 2 weeks?
It's between 3 and 10 days.
Between 3 and 10 days. And the public do have the opportunity to come into the office and review the development, and also if there's any letters that have come in from the residents regarding the proposed development. So that is in place. And of course, at the public hearing, that does give the public the opportunity to voice their opinion on whether they agree or not agree with the type of development. Thank you. So I'll call the question. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you. And the next order of business is
We're still on business arising from correspondence. Are we moving on to the next one?
I have the one from the tourism. Yes, I'll just briefly read this. It's very important. Dear Mayor and Council members, Tourism Harrison River Valley was pleased to host the official grand opening of the Harrison Hot Springs Visitor Centre and Santa Claus Museum on Friday, June the 21st. The opening was well attended by a range of dignitaries, and that the Tourism Harrison Board Director and several representatives from Destination BC. Of course, Rick Hansen was there. And the successful completion of this building is a result of many people and organisations. It started with the enthusiastic support provided by Mayor and Council of 2020 for the original grant application. That support continued throughout the construction process with strong ongoing assistance from village staff led by CEO Madeline McDonald and Tyson Cook. Tourism Harrison would like to express their gratitude to the village for helping make the vision of a truly accessible visitor centre in Harrison Hot Springs become a reality. Tourism Harrison has been operating in Harrison Hot Springs and representing the Harrison River Valley since 2007, when thanks to the leadership of Councillor Alan Jackson, Harrison Hot Springs became an official resort community and MRDD was introduced to fund tourism marketing. Since that time, Tourism Harrison has grown to help increase the economic impact of tourism. And they've been given a high ranking from the accessibility of, Christy, how many? 90?
So they're gold standard rated.
Gold standard rated for accessibility to the building. It's a wonderful building. Thank you for that. And what's the next order of business?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
On 8B correspondence, I'd like to talk a bit about the letter from the businesses about parking.
Oh, yes, good. Yes. Carry on.
Yeah, so I find this letter very interesting because it came from a collection of small businesses in the downtown area of Harrison. And it was exactly that group of people that formed the original Chamber of Commerce, which has now become the Harrison Agassiz Chamber of Commerce. And I think it's lost some of its vitality by that union. And I think this demonstrates the need for the small businesses in Harrison to have a voice. And I'm delighted to hear them coming forward and putting suggestions before the council. Because that doesn't seem to be getting done by Tourism Harrison, which represents the big businesses, or by the chamber, which is, I think, too diluted to be effective. So the concern I have here is that what they call the overflow parking area is actually the land which we bought in order to have a place to build a future community center to replace Memorial Hall and perhaps a civic center and goodness knows what else. In the meantime, it does serve a good purpose as an overflow parking area, except when it is used such as it was on Sasquatch days for an encampment by the native paddlers, and except when it is handed over to an organization like the Arts Festival to charge admission. And that kind of makes a mockery of the idea of having free parking. And I'm not sure if the businesses in the front are aware that that is what has been happening. Now, I don't mind an organization such as the festival during their own event taking some responsibility to help organize parking more effectively. We know that the dragon boat racers do the same on their weekend. They put people on the ground to help organize the parking. But I think that the businesses need to understand that it's not always free. And if it is going to be always free, then we as a council should make that decision and that commitment to them that people will not be charged. People have said that if we have a community center built on the land which we bought for that purpose, we will lose that parking. And that's actually not the case, because most of the land will be turned into a parking lot to accommodate the people attending events in the community hall, primarily in the evening. In the daytime, all of that paved and organized parking becomes available as it is today for people to walk to the beach and park up here. So I think that it's good that these people have come forward. And I just recall that when we did the sand sculpture competition, we organized and arranged to have the Rotary Club come in and organize the parking in Harrison. And we used that as a kind of a test case to see how we could get more parking. And we established the herringbone parking along the front, the angle parking, and that became permanent, as did the one-way street system. So I'm very much in favor of getting parking better organized and more effective when we have large events like that. But in the case of the sand sculptors and the Rotary Club, we didn't charge for any of that. The sand sculpture organization gave the Rotary Club a percentage of the gate receipts for the days that they were organizing parking, and there was no additional charge to people coming in. So I think this is a good initiative, and I'd like to see it going much further. Thank you.
Thank you. So I believe they're basically asking here that the sign that says overflow parking should have free parking. And of course, we do make allowances for like the Festival of the Arts, which is part of a fundraiser for one of the largest events that we have in the community. And if there's other village groups that can bring forward a reasonable suggestion why they should charge for parking, or it was by donation, actually, it wasn't a charge, it was by donation, that they could be looked at on a case by case sort of thing. So I think we should like to have a motion to move forward with the suggestions from the letter moved by Councillor Vidal, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Any further discussion from you, councillors? Councillor Vidal.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio. With all due respect to Councillor Allen, I don't see any mention of the use of the overflow parking lot, other than the request to have clearer signage, which I support. And again, in all due respect to Councillor Allen, I take slight offense to the word native paddlers and would request that in the future, Councillor Allen use the correct terminology, which is Indigenous. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for saying native. I'll call it Indigenous.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Call the question, all in favour? Nobody opposed? Nobody opposed, motion passes. On the next order of business.
Sorry. It's come to my attention that the camera isn't working on Zoom.
Okay,
Could I ask that council just take a short recess to allow staff time to reset the camera?
sure.
Is that okay?
A few minutes recess, folks.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, sorry, folks. We'll reconvene at 7:25. Next order of business.
The next order of business is reports of councillors, committees, committee of the whole, and commissions.
Okay, shall I deal with that A first?
Sure, if you want to, if you would like me to.
Yeah, would you take it?
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
thanks.
So on page 31 of your agenda packages, there is a report from the Environmental Advisory Committee. The committee met on Wednesday, June 26th, and unanimously passed the following resolution regarding recommended council action. That the Environmental Advisory Committee be given the opportunity to review the updated arborist report regarding the oak trees on Lillooet Avenue prior to council making any decision to move forward.
So do we have a mover for this? Moved by Councillor Jackson, second by Councillor Allen. Discussion. Discussion, yes.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm very much in favour of this. I think that having attended that meeting, that we have a group of people here who are actively involved in the community and who appreciate the value of our heritage trees. And they obviously have an interest in ensuring that these trees, if possible, survive. And I'm very much in favour of that happening.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you. And now we'll start with Councillor Jackson, reports from committees.
Oh, thank you, Worship. I just want to comment on July the 1st. Went extremely well. The parade was very well attended and got off a few minutes late. But all in all, it was a wonderful day. I've spent the last 19 years doing the parade and I made my swan song. This was it. It's time for people who continually after me are complaining to step up to the plate now to do this. It's a lot of work. I've enjoyed it. I've met a lot of wonderful people and I'll still be around to help if necessary. But again, the Tourism Harrison, which represents everybody in Harrison, not just big business. The money comes from the hotels, hotel tax, but everybody benefits. That's it, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. I'd like to personally thank Councillor Jackson for his many years of helping out with the committee and the parade. And yeah, we got involved in 2004?
Yeah.
2004, I believe. It's been a great run. It's a great committee. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio. On June 21st, I attended the opening of the new Tourism River Valley Info Center and the Sasquatch Museum. It is an incredible building with opportunities for education and awareness for all ages. So I encourage everyone to take the time. And a shout out and well done, Tourism Harrison. On June 22nd and 23rd, I attended the official opening, participated in the VIP paddle, and enjoyed engaging with residents, visitors, and war canoe competitors during the annual Sasquatch Days. Thanks once again to Stahelis for hosting another very successful event. On June 25th, I attended the Community Futures North Fraser AGM. If there are some of our residents who aren't aware specifically of what Community Futures North Fraser can offer to small businesses here in the community, please contact them directly or contact myself. And I can pass you on to the appropriate personnel and staff at Community Futures. And July 1st, I want to say it was another successful Canada Day celebration in our village. Thousands attended. During the breakfast at our fire hall, I do want to make note that our local ambassador, Todd Richard, received the honor of being declared an honorary firefighter. I can't think of a more deserving individual. Well done, Todd. Thanks to Tourism Harrison for another outstanding day with lots of smiles and high fives from everyone. I also want to take the time to extend a heartfelt thank you to Deputy Mayor Facio and Councillor Jackson for their close to 20 years of sitting on the planning committee for Canada Day festivities. Both have gone above and beyond, and I thank you sincerely for your commitment to our community.
Thank you. Councillor Allen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. It's been a busy month with summer coming upon us quite quickly. I was happy to be able to attend the meeting of the Environmental Advisory Committee, even though I don't appear as such. I was only there as a guest, but I was happy to report to that committee that the state of the Miami River is actually very good at the moment. We have clean water that has come in from Harrison Lake, and on the morning that the meeting was held, or in the evening before, I was able to sit by the river and watch beavers at work. We have a bald eagle that has moved into the neighborhood in the last week and is there about every second day catching fish. We have otters, we have all kinds of birds, and the health of the river itself, the water portion of the river is very good. And I'd just like to encourage anybody who wants to explore the river to do so quickly, because the weeds are quickly forming upstream of Hot Springs Road, making it difficult to paddle. But from Hot Springs Road to the lake, it's still relatively clear and the water's clean. And even if you want to go for a swim in it, I would encourage that. I also attended on Saturday morning the new business that's opened in the Katami building, which was a Japanese restaurant.
Karen's
A
got.
lady called Karen has got a very innovative menu, including Trinidadian and Caribbean dishes, along with English stuff like Cornish pasty and high tea. And it's an interesting addition to our mix. And you can sit on the little patio, which wasn't very well used by the previous people. You can sit on that little patio and enjoy the Miami River and all the wildlife and some new cuisine. So it's good to see new business coming into Harrison. The new sushi restaurant behind the hamburgers is also excellent. And I'd encourage people to try all of our different foodstuffs in the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. The next order of business, please.
The next order of business is reports from mayor.
Thank you. Regarding the small fire that was on the west side of the mountain in June, I'm asking council for a resolution to send letters of appreciation to the Harrison Fire Department, the Agassiz Fire Department, I believe the Seabird Fire Departments were there, and of course BC Wildfire Service personnel who scaled the mountain. And in August, the next meeting, we'll be doing a special presentation for Joseph Blades. That was a local resident who climbed up that mountain first and tried to do what he could up there. So that's in the works. So just at the moment, a letter of appreciation to the departments, and we'll deal with Joseph on the next August meeting. So that's my need a motion for that.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Byler, second by Councillor Jackson. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, it's been said that the fire was started because of BC Hydro doing brushing on their power line up there. Is that correct? Has that been confirmed?
That hasn't been confirmed yet. No, that's just hearsay at the moment.
Okay.
Nothing's been confirmed.
Is there an investigation
I
underway?
believe so, yes.
Okay. Well, perhaps you let us know when that.
Yeah, if I find out, I certainly will.
Okay, thank you. Because during that week, we could hear voices up on the hill and occasional chainsaws, and nobody knew anything about it. And they must have come in from the top.
I must, I know, as you know, for many years, what's been called Little Chief by the golf courses climbed most days of the week or weekends. So whether they got in from that end, I don't know. But yeah, they could cut across there somehow, I suppose. But anyway, if we hear any further, I'll let council know. On some comments I've had from some residents, or at least one resident and 2 or 3 others regarding setting up of a food store in Harrison. I did contact one of the chains in Vancouver, and they're going to do a research and an area feasibility study, whether that would be feasible in the community. So I moved ahead with that. I'd like to thank Jeremy Isaac, the pastor of the Central Community Church. I approached him last week regarding opening up a cooling center, and he sent me an email on Sunday confirming that. So today and tomorrow between 2 and 8 p.m. The cooling center is opened, and it's there. And I believe Agassiz has got one going as well at the Friendship House as well in Agassiz. Agassiz Harrison Community Services, I found this out, that they have a seniors cafe, and they have 3 field trips. One on the 29th of July, which is Shem Wetlands, one on August 26th, Harrison Hot Springs, and September the 23rd, Earthwise Society Farm, between 10 and noon. You would have to contact Community Services, because I assume they're using their community bus, and it's limited numbers, but it's it'd be a great field trip for those seniors who want to get out for a few hours. And I believe it's a stop for coffee and a muffin on the way or before you leave. So that's a great program. Sasquatch Days was another great weekend in our village with some 42 clubs participating. It's larger, it's normally about 30, so it's much larger this year. It was a great procession and opening ceremonies from our First Nations. July 1st, as already indicated, I won't get into that. I'd just like to thank all the volunteers, our fire department, the RCMP, the sponsors who donated money for all this, and of course the hotel resort that donated the pancake breakfast. And put in the Jones boys in the parade. That was great. The Village Fire Smart program has started. You may have seen local Thomas Redden going around in a truck. And he is doing the home ignition zone assessment. So you have to contact, is it our website or the office to make appointments? Yeah, to make an appointment if you need him to come around and assess your home regarding Fire Smart. I won't get into any other report because we have a very busy schedule this evening. But I'd just like to mention that, and this is myself, and I'm sure council supporting our staff. There's been recent communications on a social media site regarding FOI's requests, and our staff isn't conducting them in the correct way, and the mayor and council is interfering with the process. Well, number one, mayor and council cannot interfere with FOI process. It's legislated to our corporate officer sitting here on my left, and it's her duty to do the request or the fact finding, and there is time elements as well involved in this. I would just like to apologize to our staff for this unfortunate mention on social media. They're not there, they cannot defend themselves when these things happen. So let's leave our staff to do the job that they're paid to do. We have a wonderful staff. They're here to help everybody, but they have to wear many hats, so please appreciate that. Thank you. Next order of business, please.
Next order of business is reports from staff, and item A is report of our CAO regarding early detection wildfire system update.
Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. So today I'm going to provide an update to council regarding the Rogers Communications and SenseNet agreement and equipment installation. Background has a lengthy process or lengthy description of where we are today. I'll move right to the discussion. On June 19th, 2024, staff met with representatives from Rogers Communications and SenseNet, the consultant team, to receive an update regarding the agreement, preparation and finalization, system installation timelines, installation costs, and stakeholder engagement. The consultant team advised staff that the agreement was not finalized and the stakeholder agreement had not yet begun. I would like to change that. We now have confirmed as of this morning that consultation has begun. The consultation has gone and has confirmed receipt, and SenseNet and Rogers will be working with Chehalis Province, Fraser Valley Regional District, and any other stakeholders required. The consultant team, in the report, it states the consultant team advised staff after the meeting, the installation cost would be roughly $15,000. Staff is recommending an allocation of $20,000 for installation to cover any unforeseen costs. During the discussion about equipment installation, the consultant team was unfamiliar with village-owned property and or buildings and its proximity to the east sector lands. Staff met with the consultant team on June 24th, 2024, to provide a tour of the village facilities and potential equipment installation locations, which we're just in the process of finalizing. And at the time of writing this report, staff had not received the agreement, verification that the engagement process had started and or an estimation of installation or and or timeline. Now, I'd like to change that. Staff is in receipt of the agreement from Rogers, and we're currently vetting that. And then also, of course, the estimation installation date is still unknown at this time. So the motion in front of council is that council directs staff to engage Rogers Communications to use their authorized contractor to install the SenseNet package, including 100 sensors, 5 gateways, and 3 cameras at a cost of up to $20,000 to be funded by reserves.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion.
So when will it be operational? Do we know? What's the
Please,
projected?
Mr. Cook.
Through your worship. At this time, that is unknown because the timeline for consultation and even engagement for the contractor may take some time.
Any further discussion?
Question on the motion?
Okay, call the question. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And the next order of business.
The next is report of corporate officer regarding 2024 by-election appointments.
Join.
Thank you. The office of the mayor has recently become vacant, therefore council must appoint a chief election officer and deputy chief election officer. Pursuant to section 58(1) of the Local Government Act, the local government must appoint those 2 positions for the conduct and administration of the municipal election. Staff is recommending that Kelly Ridley be appointed as the chief election officer and that myself, Amanda Graham, and Tyson Cook be appointed as deputy chief election officers for the 2024 by-election. It's estimated that the 2024 by-election will cost between $30,000 and $40,000. And so the recommendations before council are that pursuant to section 58(1) of the Local Government Act, Kelly Ridley be appointed chief election officer for the 2024 by-election to be held in September 2024. And that Amanda Graham be appointed deputy chief election officer for the 2024 by-election, and that Tyson Cook be appointed deputy chief election officer for the 2024 by-election, and that council authorize an expenditure of up to $40,000 for the 2024 by-election to be funded by taxation.
So moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion.
So that would make Kelly Ridley if we pass this resolution, appointed today, tonight, and that starts the clock on all the timing then, doesn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
When do you anticipate we might have a by-election?
Please.
Through you
Through
to Councillor Allen, the latest possible day we could have it, it has to be on a Saturday, general voting day, so the latest one would be Saturday, September 21st. I will get out to the chief election officer to establish the date, but that's the last possible.
Okay. All right.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. And the next business, please.
The next report is item C, report of corporate officer regarding 430 Esplanade Avenue, nuisance property.
Carry on, please.
Thank you. 430 Esplanade Avenue has been non-compliant with village bylaws regularly since 2009. The village routinely receives complaints of squatters, broken windows, litter, rodents, smell of smoke, overgrown vegetation, human waste, and unsightliness. In 2009, the village sent several letters of non-compliance to the property owners, citing the village's then unsightly premises bylaw. The property owners then made several attempts to bring the property into compliance, which included demolishing an accessory building. Ownership of the property changed hands in June of 2016, and enforcement efforts continued. Since 2018, the village has issued 16 bylaw tickets and has sent 4 letters and 4 compliance orders to the property owners. In 2021, Fire Chief Todd conducted a visual inspection of the property and determined that it was in violation of multiple sections of the BC Fire Code and that it presented a significant fire hazard. A copy of that letter is attached to this report. The residence has been abandoned since at least 2009 and is in a state of disrepair, making the building unsafe for people to be in. There's a significant concern for the safety of those who enter the building. It's also unsightly and is creating issues for nearby residents. Attempts to secure the building and maintain the property have not been successful in bringing the property into compliance for any extended period of time. Earlier this year in March, after several more complaints were received, staff contacted the property owners to advise them that the building was once again insecure. The letter also indicated that a report to council with a recommendation for demolition would be forthcoming. The homeowners agreed at that time to voluntarily demolish the building. Staff have been receiving regular updates from the homeowner regarding the status of the demolition permit application. At the time of writing this report, a demolition permit had been applied for recently, but therefore not yet issued by the FDRD. Although the property owner has been communicative, it has taken considerable time and effort on behalf of village staff to get the homeowners to apply for that permit. In addition to the hazardous building, there are cedar trees bordering the property on all sides, which are overgrown and encroaching on the village's boulevard and have not been maintained in such a way so as to be consistent with fire smart principles. On June 27, 2024, the bylaw enforcement officer and public works supervisor conducted a walkthrough of the building, and the home was found to be insecure with large amounts of broken glass and garbage strewn about. In the living room area, a large stone fireplace was located with pieces of a burnt chair and evidence of a previous fire located inside it. This information was forwarded to Fire Chief Dines, who advised that this property represents a fire risk given the evidence of fire, the fact that it is vacant, and the overgrown cedar trees. He further advised that given this building's proximity to adjacent buildings, a fire started at this property could become a multiple structure fire, and he recommended that the trees and any other fire smart hazards be removed. Sections 72 to 74 of the Community Charter give Council the authority to impose remedial action requirements for structures and trees that Council considers to be unsafe and or declares to be a nuisance. Section 74 sub 2 further gives Council the ability to impose those same actions in relation to a structure that is so dilapidated or unclean as to be offensive to the community. Pursuant to section 72 sub 2 sub B, council may require the property owner to remove or demolish the building, fill it in, cover or alter it, bring it into compliance with zoning or property maintenance bylaws, or otherwise deal with it as council sees fit. Section 76 requires that a council resolution imposing remedial action specify a deadline for compliance. The deadline cannot be sooner than 30 days from the date that notice of remedial action is sent to the property owner. After setting a time limit for compliance, council may extend the time. Additionally, section 79 grants council the authority to impose a shorter timeline if council considers that there's a significant risk to health or safety if action is not taken earlier. Given the long history of non-compliance and recent communications with the property owner spanning a period of over 3 months, staff is recommending that council requires a homeowner to remove the trees, demolish the building, and remove any debris or material within 30 days. If council passes a resolution imposing remedial action, the property owner may request a reconsideration and must be provided the opportunity to make representations to council at that time. Section 17 of the community charter authorizes council to demolish the building and recover costs from the property owner should they fail to either comply or request a consideration within the specified time frame. Costs may be recovered in the same manner as property taxes, and if not paid by December 31st of this year, would be considered taxes in arrears as outlined in section 258 of the charter. So moving on to the recommendations, that council declare the principal building and cedar trees bordering the property at 430 Esplanade Avenue, Harrison Hot Springs, BC, a nuisance and hazardous to public safety, and impose remedial action pursuant to section 72, 73, and 74 of the community charter. And that council hereby order the property owner to remove the cedar trees on the property, demolish the building, and remove all debris and material within 30 days of the date on which notice is sent to the property owner pursuant to section 72, sub 2B1 of the community charter. And that should the property owners not comply with the remedial action within the specified timeframe, staff be authorized to fulfill the requirements of the remedial action and recover costs from the property owner pursuant to section 17 of the community charter.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. Councillor Jackson. And
Just a comment. Yeah. Your worship, we went through this process in 2010. We went right to the point, I think, we were gonna go to court. And we were told the same story. Now, here we are, all these years later, it's still there. Oh, the quicker we get this done, the quicker we get the action, get rid of it, get it cleaned up. I'm all in favor. I'll second the motion if we get one.
Thank you. And Councillor Vital, then Councillor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Fascio. Reading this report, as Councillor Jackson indicated, this has been an ongoing issue since,
20 years.
20 years, thank you. And during that time, I have received, or since I've been on council, received numerous emails and correspondence from residents requesting that something be done. In the past, I have referred these residents to staff or to bylaw. I am not sure or aware or what the justification is for the constant delays in even attempting to apply for a demolition permit. So I am in full support of the recommendations. And if it is not completed within the 30 days, we could anticipate that the owner of the property may come back and ask for an extension, but we'll deal with that at the time when it happens. But I would like a clear letter sent to the property owner that they have 30 days to demolish the property and remove the trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Allen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is actually a bit of a tragic story because this was once the most outstandingly beautiful house on the lakefront at Harrison. It was built by Paul Rake, who was a community leader and who owned all the tugboats on the lake that became river towing, rib tow. And the inside of the house is finished with the most beautiful knotty pine paneling, like you'd see in a luxury yacht coming out of his hometown of Hamburg. So it's a sad day when Harrison's most beautiful home has to be demolished. My concern on this is a couple of things. First of all, we talk about the trees and we talk about cedar trees. There are hedging cedars overgrown along the Esplanade, which are actually on village property.
Correct.
We should have taken those out a long time ago because they're on our land and we have the right to get rid of them. But that would have exposed the house, which isn't looking good. On the back of the property are also cedar trees, but they're massive. And in the middle of property are a couple of cherry trees. And on the side, on the west side, there's quite a beautiful oak tree. So I would like a little clarification about which trees. Is it all the trees or some of the trees? I imagine if the property is ever going to be developed, it'll be all of the trees will have to go. So that should probably happen. And maybe the motion should clarify that we're talking about all trees, not just cedars. I sympathize to some extent with the owners because I have tried to go through the Fraser Valley Regional District process of getting a demolition permit. And it was an exercise in pure frustration. It was slow, it was expensive, and it took forever. In this case, since we are demanding the demolition, I would like to see the administration come up with a way where we waive the requirement for a demolition permit. We order it demolished, and we just say, get it demolished. If there's a requirement in our bylaws, let's have a bylaw waiver and say to the owner, you don't have to pay thousands of dollars for engineering reports to demolish a building, et cetera, just get it demolished. We're waiving all fees and all requirements, just take it away. A good excavator operator in there with a couple of trucks will have it completely gone in one day. And it will really open up that street when it happens. And I have to tell you, I took a walk around it and slightly inside it on Sunday afternoon. And there was a really good teenage drinking party going on in there, to which I was invited, but declined, thank you. So let's get it cleaned up. It's a sad day. It was a historic house. A lot of things happened there that I don't want to talk about tonight, but it's a piece of history that has fallen into disrepair and it has to go.
Thank you.
I'm in favor of the resolution by all means.
Corporate CEO has a comment.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Allen. I want to assure Council that staff has been working with FVRD diligently to try and speed up the process to get this building permit or demolition permit completed as quickly as possible to assist the homeowner in trying to demolish this as quick as possible. All we're doing is asking Council's permission to have this in the event that they don't follow through with their promise.
So I'll call the question. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next order of business.
The next order of business is report of Community Services Manager regarding Starlight Skating Rink 2024 to 2025.
Ms. Evans.
Thank you. So this report is to provide an update on Starlight Skating Rink operating plans for the 2024 to 2025 season. At the February 20th, 2024 regular meeting of council, the following resolution was passed. That staff research potential other areas for the Starlight Skating Rink and report back to council with options and associated costs. Staff reviewed the Starlight Skating Rink setup plans and discussed other potential locations with the Public Works Supervisor responsible for setup and takedown during a site visit along the waterfront area. After looking at various locations on village property, including above the beach washrooms in Maple Street, it was identified that the existing location is the most viable considering the layout, requirements for placement, and services required for skate rentals. The required infrastructure for rink setup is already in place at this location, and there would be no additional costs associated with the setup. The ideal setup time for the Starlight Skating Rink will be in October, with the proposed timeline to have the rink in place until February 2025. The tentative schedule for Lights by the Lake will be November 23rd until mid-January. The combination of the Starlight Skating Rink and Lights by the Lake will be a draw for tourism and help to support local businesses during the shoulder season. Staff plan to issue a request for proposals for operating the skating rink concession and skate rentals. A suggestion last year was for a local business to become involved. Staff will forward the RFP to the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Harrison River Valley to distribute, ensuring that any local businesses that may be interested are aware that they are welcome to submit a proposal. There are no additional financial considerations at this time outside of the scope of the 2024 budget. And the recommendation is that the Community Services Manager's report dated July 8th, 2024 regarding the Starlight Skating Rink 2024 to 2025 be received for information.
Moved by Councillor Vidal, second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. I just have a comment. Oh, go on.
Well, yeah, just a question. Do we have a budget for this? Do we know how much it's going to cost to erect it, operate it, and dismantle it at the end of the season? And where does that money come from?
Carry on, financial officer.
Yes, thank you, your worship, to Councillor Allen. We do have a budget included in the approved financial plan. The total expected costs for the year is about $18,000.
That's to put it together, take it apart, and the operating cost.
That includes setup, takedown, insurance, and operating costs, yes.
Okay, second question.
Yep.
I noticed there's construction fence being put around the area south of the boat launch office. What's going in there and how will that affect the skating rink, and what's the timing of those two projects?
Thank you.
Ms. Evans, you have a comment on that?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Allen, the construction fencing up right now is for the additions, upgrades to the boat launch building. And that project is supposed to be completed close to the same time, but it won't have any impact because of the location of the current CCAN trailer. So whoever operates the the skating rink concession and skate rentals will utilize the existing infrastructure right now while that construction finishes up.
Sorry, so when will that building start?
The construction on the boat launch building?
Yeah.
Yeah, pass that to our
Yeah,
Director of Operations.
Through you to Councillor Allen, construction fencing is up and project is estimated to start this week with completion in late 2024.
Yeah, I have to explain, I have to ask the questions because I've asked for the contract and have not been provided with it, so I don't really know what's going on down there. Thank you.
Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to our Community Services Manager. I know in the past we had put up the expenditure to enlarge the skating rink. Will that be included in this year's installation? And I know at one time we looked at possibly putting a roof on it, but I believe council decided against that. Is that correct?
Please carry on.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Vital. Yes, we did decide against the rink covering. So those project funds have been reallocated to support just the added expenditures from construction costs over the years from the development of the plan to the execution. We don't have anything currently budgeted for expansion. The skating rink hasn't been fully operational for a number of years with a few different struggles. So staff are really optimistic that if we get started on the RFP process and find the right person to manage it, that we'll have one true season to then be able to make some decisions for future plans.
Thank you. Yes, I know when we first installed it, it was very, very popular, but I think COVID hit and that we've never really seen it recover to the same extent. So perhaps we can get out and market it a little bit more leading up to it. So thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe from the original size, it has been expanded once. There was funds spent on that to what the size it is now. My suggestion would be, and I say this because I think it will get more use, it will help the school children to some extent as well to enjoy it as well, that after Labor Day, the boat launch goes pretty quiet. Whatever boat traffic comes in adequately could fit on Esplanade where it is now, because there are bays on Esplanade, as you know, for the boats and trailers. So I'm suggesting if it could be started in September, so we get at least 2 or 3 months of decent weather in there, and it would be more. I think it will get a lot more use from the families and the kids during that time as well. So if it's possible to start the installation in September shortly after the Labor Day weekend. And the weather is great. I'm sure the crew would appreciate doing that instead of the cold, rainy and snowy weather. Just something to think about. Thank you. Okay, so let's just have a receipt. Call the question. All in favour? Opposed? Nobody opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next order of business.
Next order of business is report of community services manager regarding fuel management updates.
You're still on.
Thank you. So this report is to provide an update to council on fuel management projects underway in the village of Harrison Hot Springs. At the January 15th regular council meeting, the following resolution was passed: that staff be authorized to proceed with prescription development for fuel treatment work in the Spirit Trail, and that staff seek additional grant funding sources once the prescription is developed to be able to complete the fuel treatment to a fuel management standard for all costs above the originally budgeted $30,000. And that the above motion be amended by adding that the matter be referred back to staff to research option 2 as per the January 10th, 2024 email from Blackwell and Associates to look at fuel treatment for the water tower area as a timely alternative to the Spirit Trail. BA Blackwell and Associates have been working on fuel prescriptions for Spirit Trail and the water tower location since early 2024. Upon receipt of the final fuel prescription for the water tower location, staff issued a request for proposals for forest fuel management. The RFP was posted on BC Bid on May 31st and closed on June 17th. One submission was received from GBF Technical Forestry in the amount of $23,458. In accordance with the village's purchasing and procurement policy number 1.08, staff will be awarding this contract to GBF Technical Forest Inc. Staff received the final prescription for Spirit Trail on June 19th, 2024, and have issued a RFP for fuel management in this location. This site is on Crown land managed by the Fraser Valley Regional District. Initial consultation has taken place with these stakeholders, and further discussions will be required based on the environmental and recreational impacts. While BA Blackwell and Associates were on site, they recommended fire smart vegetation management guidelines to be implemented in the area adjacent to the fire hall to ensure the resiliency of one of the village's key infrastructure components. This work is being completed by a local contractor with the support of the village's Public Works Department, and costs are being covered by the annually allocated green spaces maintenance budget. In the 2024 financial plan, council budgeted $100,000 to go towards the development of fuel prescriptions and fuel management work in the village. After fuel prescription development costs, $88,389 remains in the budget. The submission received quotes for the fuel management work at the water tower site at $23,458. Completion of this work will leave $64,931 remaining. Upon receipt of proposals for Spirit Trail, staff will identify if other grant funds need to be secured to complete the work. And the recommendation is that the Community Services Manager's report dated July 8th, 2024 regarding fuel management updates be received for information.
Moved by Councillor Vidal, second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion? No discussion? Call the question. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you. Next order of business.
Next order of business is item F, report from our community services manager regarding grants.
You're on a roll tonight.
She's been away.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio. The village allocates funding to community groups annually through its Grants to Groups program outlined in the Grants Policy 1.02. This grant program is intended to help fund initiatives that enhance the overall well-being of the village of Harrison Hot Springs. The budgeted amount for this program is $7,500 annually. The village received 7 applications for funding in 2024, totaling $21,293. The requests were significantly higher than the allocated program budget. As per the village's Grants Policy 1.02, staff reviewed all applications based on need and contribution to the community. Thorough budget reviews were conducted, including all past accounting statements from prior grant funds received. Attached to this report is a table outlining 2023 funds received, if applicable, 2024 funds requested, 2024 staff funding recommendations, and the proposed use of funds as identified on the application forms. There are no additional financial considerations associated with this report as presented. Based on the demands of the community groups, council may want to increase the budgeted amount of funds for this program. The last annual budget increase for grants to groups was in 2014. The table there shows the same as the recommendation at the front. And it would be that the following community groups be provided with funding under the Grants to Groups program. Would you like me to read it all?
No, that's,
Oh.
I think we'll open up, I'll have a motion first and then we'll open up for discussion. So motion, to make the following community groups be provided with funding under the Grants to Groups. We'll open it up for discussion, moving on the seconder, moved by councillor Ryan, second by councillor Allen, discussion, councillor Allen, you have any comments on that?
Well, no, just, I'm a little surprised to see that the amounts are shrinking when the population is growing. You would normally expect those budgets to go up year over year. Are they going up or are they level? Did they apply for more and we're giving them less or?
Yes, thank you, your worship, through to Councillor Allen. The budgeted contribution each year has been $7,500.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed. It does seem to depend each year on the type of applications we've received.
Okay.
In 2024, we've received a lot, and
Yeah.
so we didn't have enough money to go around. But the budget hasn't changed in many years.
Okay. But we could be increasing that budget year over year as we move ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, councillor Vidal, you have any comments on this?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio, through you to our financial officer. Do we need to wait until next year's budget for an increase, or can that be done now?
Please.
Thank you, your worship, through to Councillor Vidal. I think the best is just to do this as part of the budget for next year.
Okay.
But I'll make note and we'll discuss it at that point.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you, councillor Jackson, you have any comments on that? Okay, I have some comments on redistributing some of this funding. The community garden, I'm suggesting $800 from $1,250. Fraser Valley Paddling Club, $800 from $1,250. I'd like the Agassiz Housing and Services increased to $1,850. Those senior services, including Drive for You, is an important program. I think we have to support that as best we can. And that the Miami River Stream Keeper is reduced to $775 from $875. And the Block Watch from $500 to $350. And that the Kent House and Hearts Council remain at $2,000. I believe this affects their grant that they receive as well, but whatever they receive from the village will depend on the grant that they receive. It's always been normally $2,000, and that's Arts Council is an important component of the community. So that's my changes. I don't know what council thinks about that. Councillor Vidal.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio. Looking over the list, there are some organizations that we have supported for many years, and you're absolutely correct with Kent Harrison Arts Council that to lower the contribution would severely affect their additional grants. I do support your recommendation about the Fraser Valley Paddling Club. I am not aware if they are a nonprofit group or not. With you know, they may have the ability to apply also for other funding. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Councillor Jackson, also.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I'd like just to say that each one of these are deserving. And you take the Agassiz baseball, which is less money this year, and that they survive on grants and donations. Otherwise, they have tremendous amount of volunteers. The only thing I'm in favor of is next year is we used to have a budget of about $15,000 when I was on council every year. And now it's shrunk down to 7,500. So quite frankly, I'm in favor of the 2024 request or paid and leaving it the way it is for this year.
Councillor Allen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, couple of observations. I assume the Agassiz Baseball Association includes Harrison players or children?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The paddling club, I think that's the Dragon Boat people, isn't it?
I'm guessing it is,
Or
yeah.
the Hawaiian canoe people, or,
They have a youth group
yeah,
over there, and I believe that's part of the new group that's been formed.
okay. The one that I wouldn't like to see reduced is the Harrison Community Garden. And I say that because the more that people move into apartments, the more they need a little place to grow some vegetables and be organic. And it's also a very good social thing where they get together and they become friends and neighbors and look after each other. I had a conversation with the leader of that group recently, and we discussed the need to expand the garden. And I really don't see why we have the chain link fence around it still there from 1983, when I installed that as a water well source for the Wass subdivision. The chain link fence is proving to be useful because they have had vandalism at the community gardens in Agassiz, and this protects ours. But I would like to see that fence moved either all the way to the curb or closer to the curb with a little extra put in to give them about a 50% increase in space, and they can build more beds and have more members, because they do have a waiting list of people who want to do.
Just to interrupt, that is being discussed at the age friendly, and that's one of the points that's been brought forward.
All right, well, I'd like to see them encouraged, and I'd like to see that facility expanded. And we should possibly look to see if there are any other areas in Harrison that we could use for that purpose, for a second outlet. Thank you.
I spoke to the lady involved, sent me an email. I believe they need about $400 to replace, for each section, to replace the rotting wood
The beds.
So the 800 would cover that. That would cover that. And I believe they are becoming a society at some point themselves as well. So, yeah, so they'll be able to seek other funding as time goes on as well. But no, fully support that. We always have done. But anyway, that's my suggestions. Council, yes, Amanda.
Sorry, just to, we ran the numbers really quick and it looks like there's still $50 that could be.
Give it to the garden. Put it to the garden. 850.
Well, Mr. Mayor, this illustrates why we have budget meetings, because you can spend half an hour talking about these numbers and not agree on it. And we have a set of numbers suggested to us by staff. You've suggested some different numbers. If we're going to discuss them all one at a time, I'd suggest that be referred to a committee of the whole or some other more suitable venue, unless there's some urgency in getting these approved and out.
There is urgency, I believe, is there not? Yeah.
There is a bit of a timeline, mainly in the interest of letting the applicants know. The grant can't be paid any sooner than July 2nd, but we are of course past that date now, where we typically would be paying them out this month.
Okay, so, well, okay. I'll retract my comments and leave it as it is. And then when we get to budget deliberations in next time around, we can look into it more closely, as Councillor Allen was talking about. Okay, so to leave it, if Councillor Vital agrees with me, leave it as it is, and we'll vote on the recommendations as they are. So I'll put the question out there now, as per the record. This is here for right up with the recommendation of the following community groups be provided with funding under grants for groups program. For the question, all in favour? Are we opposed? Motion passes. Thanks.
Should I just suggest that when you send the money out, that you tell them that we'd like to review these amounts for next year, and please have your application and arguments in early. Thank you.
Okay, next order of business, please.
Next item is item G, report of community services manager to give a communities in bloom committee update.
Carry on.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
You should be sitting here.
This one has a bit of a long history just with staff transitions and timing, but at the November 21st, 2022 regular meeting of council, the following resolution was passed, that a Communities in Bloom committee be established and that Councillor Jackson work with staff on the structure of the committee. And at the August 8th, 2023 regular meeting of council, the resolution passed was that staff be authorized to post a call for committee members for the Communities in Bloom, Age-Friendly and Environmental Advisory Committees to work with council representatives on notifying successful applicants and to schedule initial committee meetings. After 2 calls for applications, the Communities in Bloom committee received 3 applications. Councillor Jackson informed staff that more volunteers are required for a successful committee. The Communities in Bloom provincial program accepts applications in early spring for judging to take place in communities in the summer. Councillor Jackson's recommendation is to postpone meeting as a committee until October, and if there is still interest, look at adding Communities in Bloom registration fees into the 2025 operating budget. So the recommendation is that the Community Services Manager's report dated July 8th, 2024 regarding the Communities in Bloom Committee update be received for information.
Councillor Jackson.
I'll second.
It's the old baby. Second by Councillor Vidal, discussion. Oops. No, call the question, all in favour. Nobody opposed, thank you. Next order of business, please.
Item H, with our last report of the evening, over to our community services manager again regarding the Healthy Communities Grant.
You've done a great job, Christy. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio. So this report is just to provide council with information on a funding opportunity that could increase community programs. In early 2024, staff conducted a community programs and services survey that was completed by 76 respondents. This survey highlighted that there is a desire for there to be more recreation activities, social gathering opportunities, and educational workshops in the village. The Age-Friendly Committee has also expressed the desire for more activities to be held in the village to ensure accessibility for all. BC Healthy Communities is calling for applications for their Plan H funding stream. The focus area of this grant is community connectedness, with project funds available up to $5,000. If successful, these funds would be used to offer a yoga program and other community events, which could include a family movie night, fix-it workshop, or dance classes. These programs and events would be free of charge to the community, and donations would be accepted for the food bank operated by Agassiz Harrison Community Services. By providing free opportunities for community connections to be made, in combination with the goal of supporting local food security for those who can contribute, we feel that our proposal will be well received by the funding agency. Applying for this funding stream is consistent with the village's 2015 Age-Friendly Action Plan, as proposed activities would result in an increased use of Memorial Hall, intergenerational activities, and would positively contribute to health, recreation, and social inclusion. The recommendation is that staff be authorized to apply to the BC Healthy Communities Plan H grant stream for up to $5,000.
Do we have a move and a second? Moved by Councillor Vidal, second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. Councillor Vidal.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio, through you to our Community Services Manager. This Plan H grant, is that an annual grant that can be applied for? I just would, hate to see us start on some of these wonderful suggested programs and then not have the continued funding to continue them on, so.
Please.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Vidal. They have had it in the past, and it does seem to be coming. BC Healthy Communities sort of has 2 streams, Plan H and Age-Friendly, and it appears that both will continue to have funding opportunities arise. One of the other things that we've discussed a bit at the age-friendly table is ideally, once we have some funds and council support to sort of like pilot project some of these activities, then we could look more at what had true interest and what we could look at potentially offering in the future on just like a cost recovery basis to be able to offer those services even in the absence of a grant. But I am optimistic that it seems that there is an increased focus on age-friendly and healthy living, that I anticipate that there will be continued grant opportunities, but they're never for sure.
Never for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing further.
Councillor Jackson, you had your hand up? No? No, nothing more. Call a question. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you. And the next one, please.
The next one is item I, report of planning consultant regarding 490 and 498 Esplanade Avenue temporary use permit. And Mr. Cossey is here on Zoom to support it.
Where are you, Ken? Oh, somewhere. Hello, Mr. Cossey.
Just unmuted himself.
He's unmuted himself. Ken, can you hear us?
He's unmuted, but I don't see him talking or anything.
I can reach him by phone if you like.
Okay, sure. Excuse me.
Hello, Ken. We've got you on speaker. We're live in a council meeting right now. If you want to carry on with your report.
I am trying to, but I'm not unmuted.
Okay, we can carry on with you just on the phone.
Okay,
All right, carry on.
thank you, your worship.
Okay, Ken.
The applicant wishes to set up a 64 stall parking lot on 2 adjacent vacant parcels of land located at 490 and 498 Esplanade Avenue. And the site plan is available on page 63 of your agenda. The two sites are currently vacant and are adjacent to a new residential dwelling that has recently been constructed. The site is designated as waterfront commercial in the village's OCP and the C1 village commercial and the village's zoning bylaw. Each site is approximately 1,011.68 meters square, and both parcels, as I mentioned earlier, are vacant. The parking lot sizes will meet the requirements of the village's zoning bylaw, in that the standard stalls will be 2.7 meters wide and 5.8 meters in depth. The handicap parking stalls will be 2.8 meters wide and 5.8 meters in depth. The surface will be gravel, and the lot will be delineated out by surface mounted plastic curbs and individual concrete barriers at the end of each stall. Outlined below are samples of the concrete barriers and plastic curbs. Within the Local Government Act, council may issue a temporary use permit subject to certain requirements, such as designating a temporary use permit area in either an OCP or zoning bylaw. In this case, it's been designated in the village's zoning bylaw, specifically within section 5.2. Within this section, council may consider issuing a temporary use permit if the following criteria has been reviewed. And that's all outlined down before you in the report. With respect to the community having the opportunity to comment on the proposed issuance, it is governed by section 494 of the Local Government Act. After the public notice is posted, any comments submitted will be shared with council. Staff is of the opinion that the issuance of this permit for the initial 3-year period meets the above reference criteria. And if you wish, council, at some time later on, you may renew the permit for an additional 3 years. So with that recommendation is that council consider issuing the attached temporary use permit by resolution at the August 12th, 2024 regular council meeting, and that staff be authorized to set up the required public notice as per the requirements of the Local Government Act.
We have a move and a second, a move by
moved.
Councillor Vidal, second by Councillor Jackson. Councillor Vidal, you had a comment, I believe?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor Fascio, to our planner. Your report doesn't indicate whether this will be a paid parking. I know that the temporary use permit that you have included in the report does make note that it would be a 64 stall paid vehicle parking lot. So I just want to confirm with you that the intention is for paid parking. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions further? Yes. Councillor
Yes,
Allen.
Mr. Mayor, I've had a look at this temporary use permit section, and it can be useful. One of the problems I have with it is that this is not a permitted use in the C1 zone. A standalone paid parking lot is not a legal use as a primary use for any property in the C1 zone. And therefore, when you come up with a temporary use permit, you really don't have a set of standards to apply to it. There's no definition and rules about temporary permits in our current zoning bylaw. So it sounds a bit like what the planner is saying is that in as much as this is a parking area, that it will comply with the current rules within our zoning bylaw as far as the layout, access, etc. is concerned. So I've had a look at that, and I don't think it does comply, and I'm not sure how this should be handled. It sounds to me like maybe variances need to be granted if you're not complying with the current standards for parking. For instance, section 3.9, I think it is, of our zoning bylaw says that you have to have a 25 by 25 triangle at each corner as a view line with a maximum of 30 centimeters of height. And that would mean that the corner between Esplanade and Spruce Street and the corner between Esplanade or between Lillooet and Spruce Street would need to have these triangle setbacks in them. The other thing that the zoning bylaw says that you can't have an access to a parking area within 15 meters of a junction. And this layout has accesses coming onto the property within 5 meters of the junction. So they're 10 meters short of that. The third problem I see with it is that's not addressed in the sketch is that there's a lovely big cedar tree on the Esplanade, which is a public village-owned cedar tree.
On the street.
And it's quite a significant feature to the landscape at that end of the Esplanade. And that cedar tree, by my calculation, will completely block the entrance that has been shown on the sketch at the northeast side of the parking lot. I'm also a little concerned about the setbacks because the zoning bylaw calls for a greater setback from the residential, which would be the west boundary of this development. So I don't see those issues as being addressed. And one of the major ones is that the zoning bylaw says that the surface of the parking lot cannot be gravel. It has to be paved or lattice work or some other surface. Porous pavers, cobblestones, turf block, or honeycomb grid are the permitted finishes. And yet what's applied for is gravel. So I think that too probably needs to have a variance because that doesn't meet the standards of the bylaw. The permit itself, and I wish somebody would pronounce for me the name of the owner, because anybody want to try? It's how to pronounce this, because I'm afraid of getting something wrong and being criticized for not using.
No, you just got a minute.
Nobody wants to try. Okay, so the permit itself on section 5 says that, and this is a permit that's in front of council for approval tonight, so it should be up to date and correct. Section 5 says the development must be conducted according to the following time schedule, if applicable. There's no time schedule, and normally when you issue a development permit, you set a timeline and say, if you're going to do this, you got to do it within this time frame. And yet this section 5 appears to be incomplete because it doesn't specify the time required. Under section 6, the temporary use permit should have a security deposit by either an irrevocable letter of credit in an amount or none required. If we're going to go with none required, then that box should be ticked off. And at the bottom, section 10, this temporary use permit lapses on the such and such day of such and such a month in 2026. But earlier on, we talked about a 3-year permit, and that would take it to 2027.
And it stops you at the time.
So that would need to be changed.
I'll ask Mr. Cossey to try and answer some of your questions.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Cossey?
Yes, thank you, your worship. First and foremost, a variance cannot be used when you're trying to talk about the use or the density of a parcel. So the only thing that's applicable at this point is a temporary use permit. The setbacks, because it's in the commercial zone and it is not a residential use, it's not applicable. They're all 0 all the way around. It is not a development permit, which means it has to be substantially in compliance within 2 years. This is a temporary use permit. Completely different. So, and yes, I acknowledge the fact that we can, on the 2026 situation, that the council can set the temporary use permit for up to a term of 3 years. It can be 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years. It's up to council for a decision. So it could be 2026, 2025, or 2027.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey, and the Local Government Act does state up to 3 years in that regards. Did you have your hand up, Councillor Jackson?
Yes, Your Worship. This is when Ken Beacock was mayor and I was on council, we were so desperate one time for parking that the owner of these lots, previous owner, came to us at council. And we actually paid a fee to the owner because we needed the parking, and it worked out very well. We didn't have any problem. People parked their car there and end of the day, they went home. So this is trying to accommodate people who are coming to ours so that they can find a parking spot temporarily, rate, and then take their family down to Rendell Park to the beach. So I'm in favor of this.
Mr. Cossey, I just have one comment, and regarding the temporary one that Councillor Jackson was referring to back in 2010, the entrance at that time and exit was on Lillooet. And I think that should be the same with this complex, because coming out onto that part of Esplanade, which is a narrow street for the car traffic to get through, not the boat traffic, they're on the north side, but the south side of that Esplanade is for regular through traffic to get through. And I think that's going to cause a big problem. So I think that in your discussion, the exit and entry should be on Lillooet, and that's where it was, I believe, in 2010 on Lillooet as well. But I agree, it'll be it'd be great to have this additional parking in the village, much needed, so I fully support it. So I'll call the question on the recommendation.
Mr. Mayor,
You've had already spoken, so.
didn't get any answer to the 2 questions.
Yeah, Mr. Cossey answered.
No, he didn't,
Any
he
questions?
didn't tell me what's happening to the tree.
Oh,
or
the tree. Oh, is
or the
any,
corners.
is there any discussion, Mr. Cossey, on the tree?
We had no discussion with the applicant on the tree at this time. But in order for the development to proceed, they would have to get a tree cutting permit.
Well, it's our tree.
I believe with
We own it.
me suggesting that the entry should be in Lillooet, that tree won't come into it. And so anyway, thank you, Mr. Cossey. I'll call the question. All in favour? Opposed? Motion passes. Nobody opposed. Thank you. Thanks, Ken. Go on. And next, please.
Moving on to bylaws. Item A is the code of conduct bylaw number 1205/2024. The recommendations are that code of conduct bylaw number 1205/2024 be adopted and that council code of conduct policy number 1.33 be rescinded.
So
Moved
moved.
by Councillor Vidal, second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. Councillor Allen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm seriously opposed to the adoption of this bylaw. I've gone through it in detail. I've compared other bylaws. And one of the things I see missing here, well, I see something like 9 pages of rules and enforcement. And I don't see any guarantee that it'll be enforced properly. I am concerned about the fact that all of the power under the bylaw is given to 1 or 2 people. One being the CAO and the second being a mysterious person called an investigator, who I guess is the choice of the CAO. And to my mind, rules like this, when they are the exclusive province of one person, do never work out well. And there are no guarantees that anybody who is victimized by this bylaw has any remedies or any right to appeal. And I just see this as being draconian and a bad piece of legislation. All of the things that are supposed to be contained in human rights and natural justice, etc., are absent from this bylaw, and I just see it as being used as a blunt weapon, which will be used extensively to beat John Allen over the head, and I don't like it one bit. I understand that you, 3 of you,
I'll
sitting
stop,
here
I'll stop
can-
there, Councillor. I will stop you there if you don't mind.
yeah,
Just speak on the document, please.
well,
We don't need to be told continuously by you what you're trying to say. So is there anything else in the document you wish to bring up? You've got 2 more minutes.
well, in general terms, Mr. Mayor, it does not follow the rules of natural justice. There's no fairness or equity, there's no appeal, and there's nothing but a very high-handed set of rules, which I don't know where these have come from, but I can't see them being happily enforced or getting the support of anybody who has any appreciation for the rules of natural justice. So I'm very much opposed to the adoption of this bylaw. I think it's just a backward step and will cause nothing but trouble in the affairs.
Thank you.
People, we need
Councillor?
to encourage people to run for office. We don't need to threaten them with this type of language.
Thank you.
which is what
Councillor
this is
Vidal.
doing.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio. I disagree with Councillor Allen's comments. This is a comprehensive bylaw and code of conduct that our staff have taken considerable time researching. The majority of councils in the province of BC adopt a code of conduct. To not have a code of conduct would put us in jeopardy. This is where I disagree with Councillor Allen. The idea of a code of conduct is so that all members of council and committee members know what their expectations are. And should something come awry, the steps that need to be taken and should be taken to investigate any complaint. This bylaw provides for an independent investigator if they were to deem that there was a complaint lodged that was vexatious or trivial, then that independent investigator has the right to squash that investigation. Our CAO or any CAO involved in this, who would be involved in a complaint about a code of conduct, does not pass judgment. A CAO only facilitates what needs to be done for a thorough investigation. Not only do councils adopt codes of conduct, other organizations adopt codes of conduct, including doctors, pharmacists, nurses, teachers, lawyers, thank you. So it is not unique. I fully support this. We have waited a long time to get to this point for final adoption of this bylaw, and it was one of the recommendations from our municipal advisor who came to this council last fall. It's time to get on with it, and it's time to adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the question, all in favour? Opposed? Opposed, councillor Allen, motion passes. Next order of business,
I
please.
just wrote a check for $10,000 because of this kind of nonsense.
The next
Next order of business, please.
The next order of business is item 13B, report of planning consultant regarding the rezoning application for 421 Emerald Avenue.
Mr. Cossey, you're on.
You're up, Ken.
Hello. Thank you, your worship. This rezoning application is for 421 Emerald Avenue. Prior to all of this, there was a bunch of issues that could be considered to violate natural justice and the fair play concept and the procedural fairness. And it could have been challenged in a court of law, but we're not going to discuss about what all that was at this particular point in time. The development site consists of one property with the assigned civic address of 421 Emerald Avenue. The site currently has one modular single-family dwelling on it, and the site is approximately 0.0817 hectares in size. Access to the site, even with the civic address of 421 Emerald, is off of Diamond Street, as this is where an access gate is located. The current zoning is R1, and according to BC assessment information, the single-story, single-family dwelling was built on the lot. The date of construction is unknown, based upon following photo taken from Google Earth and BC assessment information. It looks like the dwelling has some exterior upgrades in approximately 1971. As the new owners wish to create two lots in this parcel of land, a rezoning from R1 to R3 is required to meet the proposed subdivision requirements for the R3 zone. The site is designated as low-density residential, and the following policy that's attached to the report is noted below. And because of that, we don't need to do an official community plan amendment. Please note that the site is not located with any development permit area. And the official community plan bylaw 864/2007 is a guiding bylaw for this case, as it was in effect at the time the application was submitted. The current uses are residential. The only impact that may happen is the addition of approximately two new vehicles to an existing street network system. The new lot will also be required to hook into the village's community sewer and water system. The addition of the one new lot will not negatively impact the current delivery system. listed below on page 85 is a comparison of the R1 zone to the R3 zone. The biggest difference you'll notice is the minimum lot sizes. So what we are recommending, your worship, is that bylaw number 1204, 2024 be introduced and given first reading, and that zoning amendment bylaw 1204, 2024 be given second reading, and that staff be authorized to set up a public hearing for zoning amendment bylaw 1204, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. Andy, you want these as two separate?
We should do the first one.
First
There's
one.
no debate on that.
Okay. Okay, so the first recommendation of the zoning amendment bylaw number 1204, 2024 be introduced and given first reading. Moved by councillor Vidal, second by councillor Jackson. Any discussion on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry, no, sorry, it's first reading, no discussion. Beg your pardon. Sorry. Call the question, all in favour? Opposed? Is that opposed?
Oh, yeah.
That's okay, opposed by councillor Allen, motion passes. And now the second one, the zoning amendment bylaw number 1204, 2024 be given second reading, and the staff be authorized to have a public hearing for zoning amendment bylaw number 1204, 2024. We have a move and a seconder, moved by councillor Vidal, second by councillor Jackson. Now discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Cossey, a couple of questions here. The actual access to this property is on Diamond Street, not Emerald Avenue. That causes a bit of confusion because there hasn't been an entrance on Emerald Avenue to this property in living memory. Certainly not since it was last built. But my question is, this is not just the subdivision into two lots, but it's also the rezoning to R3. And I'm concerned about the effect upon this pleasant little neighborhood of densification. So in these two lots, which look like about 4,000 square feet in size, which isn't big, how many dwelling units can be built on each lot under the proposed R3 zoning?
Mr. Cossey?
One per lot, your worship.
Sorry, 10?
One.
Sorry, I didn't hear the answer.
There was one per lot.
One per lot. Is that one duplex per lot?
No. If you look in the zoning bylaw regulations, page 47, you'll see that the only thing that's allowed on there is detached dwellings. And there was only one per lot.
So this won't have a secondary suite or a coach house
No,
or a garage with a massive loft
no,
or any of those things?
it's not the old thing. R3, look at R3.
Yeah, I'm looking, but I keep coming
Page
across this.
47.
So one home per lot, one dwelling unit
Yes.
per lot, no secondary suites, none of the other stuff.
None of the other stuff.
Okay, let's see it then. Thank you.
Any further, councillor Vidal?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Facio. Through you to Mr. Cossey. If this was to stay as an R1 zone, then it could possibly fall under the new BC government housing regulations. Is that correct?
Actually, all single-family dwellings are considered as a restricted zones. So they would, all the single-family dwellings, whether it's R1, R2, or R3, would be affected by this move.
Oh, okay.
But I believe we've told the province that we're not interested, and they've accepted our letter so far.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Housing is becoming a premium here in the village. And even though, you know, this is what can be called spot zoning, which, you know, is controversial, may not, but given the tightness of housing here in the village. I'm gonna support the recommendation and I will be curious to see what feedback we get from the public hearing. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Call the question, all in favour? Opposed? Motion passes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cossie. On the next, order of business, please.
The next item is new business. Excuse me. And item A is new business from Deputy Mayor Fazio regarding MIABC appointments.
Please read it out.
So the recommendation, whereas the Municipal Insurance Association of BC, MIABC, annual general meeting will be taking place during the UBCM convention in September. And whereas previous Mayor Ed Wood was appointed as the alternate voting delegate at the November 21, 2022 regular council meeting. And whereas his resignation has left the position of alternate voting delegate for the MIABC board vacant. And whereas Councillor Vital will be the deputy mayor when the annual general meeting takes place. Therefore, be it resolved that Councillor Vital be appointed as the alternate voting delegate to the Municipal Insurance Association.
I'll move that. Is there a seconder? Second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. Call the question. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you. Yes?
Moving on to questions from the public.
Anybody on Zoom first?
If anybody on Zoom
Go in
has a
Zoom first.
question, please use the raise your hand button.
No?
We do have one.
From Julie, I'm just gonna, okay, Julie, you should be allowed to talk now.
Go ahead, Julie.
I just want to say how great the staff is here. It's amazing. You're professional, you're informed, you're intelligent, and I thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, right.
I got one here from Wendy. Wendy, I'm just gonna unmute you here. You should be allowed to unmute yourself now.
Wendy, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I just had a quick question. I got on Zoom a little bit late when Councillor Fazio was speaking about a grocery store. And if I'm correct, I heard him say that a resident was asking and a couple people were, so he was looking into a grocery chain in Vancouver. Is that correct?
That's correct, Wendy, yes.
Okay, and which grocery chain is it?
Well, it's the Georgia Marketing Group.
Okay, and how was it selected to choose them?
I chose them through a recommendation I received.
Okay, would that not be something that the council would all kind of discuss?
Well, we will discuss it if we get when we get feedback from my verbal discussion with the folks there.
Okay, I think it would be interesting to possibly get a couple people to get more than just one opinion.
Yeah, well, as I say, I've approached some people. This was asked, and if I receive feedback from the company, then we will discuss it further with council as a whole.
Okay, just wanted to know how it was selected to pick that one particular company. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question.
One more. Kathy, I'm just gonna you should be able to unmute now.
Kathy, go ahead. Kathy, we can't quite hear you.
Yes, I do. I just have a question for Mr. Fazio or the rest of the village staff there. When certain bylaws come up for discussion, certain people get certain seems that there is a little bit of favoritism when bylaws get changed for certain people. And that if the certain group that's trying to push through a development on Emerald and Diamond, I think Mr. Fascio should not get a vote in that because he has a family member that works for those people. Just to be fair to the community.
Answer to your question, Kathy, I do have a lawyer's report here that says that I am not in a conflict of interest.
Very interesting. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Could,
Any,
can we see that?
That's private. I would give that to the corporate officer if she asked me to.
Wendy has
It
a
wasn't
good-
paid by the village. Okay, anybody else on Zoom?
Wendy has her hand up again.
Wendy, would you like to speak again?
No, I'm fine. I just needed to find out about that one question to make sure I was clear on it.
Thank you.
I think that's all.
Questions from the public, please? And please make it a question, thank you, pertaining to the agenda.
Okay, I would like to ask a question, why council does not direct their committees to make suggestions to council, where then council could refer it back to the committee. Because I think sometimes there could be issues out there that we might know about and you don't. And so if we sit there waiting for a response from council to direct us, things could go missed or amiss. And also I would like to see to the environmental committee, anything that the advisory planning commissions or committee sees, that it also goes to the environmental. Because I think a lot of building should be looked at, because we're the environmental committee. That's my recommendation.
Thank you, I'll take your advice and I'll discuss this with staff, thank you. Any other questions? Yes,
Well, as you can see, and looking around the room, they're not all young people here. And as time goes, we all age. And boy, oh boy, do things change, and I'm very serious about this. Garrison has put their head in the sand. They haven't, I repeatedly have asked to look into getting housing for seniors. Nothing about entertainment for visitors that we get, which is great, everything's great. Never heard the word elders or seniors once. And we have to start doing this because Agassiz is full. They've got a 2-year waiting list. So where am I supposed to go? I don't wanna leave Garrison. And my friends don't wanna leave Garrison, so what's for us? Can you answer that?
I have an answer for you, yes. At the last meeting, I believe it was the last meeting, or previous meetings, council discussed a new office building with a component for the seniors, but further to that, we were discussing the use of the land behind us here where we could, Jace, our operations manager, we just give just a quick brief what came forward on that.
Yes,
as a
sure.
funding source.
Yes, there are some opportunities there, and next council meeting will be providing an update on where we're at with planning and how we can move forward with land use planning for the area.
So we're looking at planning to build a complex for seniors as well, with an office attached to it as well.
Yeah, but I'm not interested in that office.
No, well, I mean, the senior component was discussed. Yes.
Thank you, Your Worship. It would be, it would be considered a mixed-use development with office. The proposal or the thought is to have offices on the first floor and housing on the upper floors. That is done through a nonprofit, that will manage.
It's a private?
I believe, is it private? Public?
Yeah, it's non-profit partner.
Yeah, nonprofit.
Well, it is, that's interesting, because I know that nonprofit I know a lady, she's got a progressive disease, and she's had to pay $10,000 a month in Agassiz.
Is that right?
So start saving your bucks, or not, I guess, I don't know, but something has to be done.
Well, we're moving forward on that.
Yeah.
Possibly subsidized.
I don't care what it is, just do it, because we need to have it done.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think it would be nice to have a recreation room. The office, this, all the units and everything is really
We're looking into it, Mark.
good.
Yes, ma'am.
With our age-friendly committee and the activities we want to do, some of us have been actually canoeing on the Miami River, and there's a tree right across it, so we couldn't go. So who would I go to get that cleared? Would that be operational?
Through Tyson to the operations man, or
You can't get all the way through Miami.
We'd have to explore options probably with DFO, because it would be considered we'd have to look at it and see what's involved. If there's a DFO, a Department of Fisheries,
Oh, okay.
I think they've got a different thing now, but we would have to, depending on what the type of work is required, we may need to obtain a permit in order to be able to do
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? None? Motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Jackson, second by Councillor Vidal. All in favour? Nobody opposed? Thank you, everybody, for coming out this evening. Thank you, council and staff.